You can either take the red pill, you'll wake up, everything was a dream, or you can take the black pill, you can get torched.
Well, I suppose getting torched won't hurt that much. I don't feel anything.
Wait for it.
Oh, wait. I just got a new client.
Get torched! Get torched! Get torched!
I'm Wayne Carey, and this is The Truth Hurts.
Well, here we are for another episode of The Truth Hurts. And Duck, I know this show's meant to be a little bit about you, but
I can't believe
we're going to spend a bit of time on me to start today.
I cannot believe this. You look like an absolute clown. What's happened?
Well, I did feel like a bit funny walking through the car park in my, for those who are listening and can't see, I'm wearing my Simon Davis FC footy jumper and a medal.
They've got the Australian colours. And why not? So Gary Ablett's senior, number 5, obviously.
Well, I do have a few similarities with Gary Senior, but no, Hurdy. That's why I wear the number 5.
So what is that, a participation medal you got there? So once everyone?
No. So Duck, I've got one over you here. You've won 2 flags in your career. Well, This is my third Byron AFL Nines premiership.
So you won the flag.
We won the flag.
He's won it. So that's not a participation medal.
In the Masters.
And what's with the goat hat as well?
Well, I know I wore that earlier in the year. I've saved it for today.
Oh, you are. So you actually seriously won the flag?
Yeah. I know we spoke about last week. It's a great weekend. Normally it's over 2 days, Friday, Saturday. It was rained out on the Friday, which it did.
Hang on, you're not allowed to play in the rain?
Well, no, because the ground was pretty much underwater. It did present a few issues for us because you go up there, you have a few drinks, but generally the football is a good distraction during the day. On the Friday, it was called off at 11 o'clock. We were getting ready for our first game. It's raining. What else are you going to do other than go to the pub? Anyway, so we played 6 games on the Saturday. It does get a bit willing. There was a few AFL players there. Dale Morris.
He'd be still unbelievably fit.
I played on him for a few minutes, and he was just. You can imagine me. I'm not agile or quick or anything, and he was just picking it off in front of me. Jared Brennan was the other one.
Formerly, was he number 1 draft pick?
Oh no, I don't think he was quite that. Was he? He was number. I don't think he was number 1. Was he?
He was high.
He was high.
Is that Jared Brennan that played at Brisbane?
Yes.
And the great Lee Matthews said he might be the best talent I've ever seen.
He's still a freak athletically. He would be 15 metres away from the footy, and he'd just jump over blokes. It's last 2 years, though, there's been a bit aggro with Jared in the times we've played him. This time around in a semi-final against his team, they're the Pigeons, they were. There was a marking contest late. We were down, and I've just sort of jumped into him. You try and use your body but not give away a free kick. And he was a bit upset.
You look like you'd be a body player. That's about it.
He thought I'd gone a bit hard in the contest. So he got up and kind of shaped up to me, and I thought, oh, here we go.
Hang on, this is a bloke that wouldn't even tell the dog next door to stop barking.
I didn't back down, but I did laugh because you'll laugh at this. No one wears a mouth guard up there, but I wear a mouth guard. I've got my mum's words from years ago ringing in my ears because I had braces when I was younger.
Yeah, right.
Cost $5,000 20 years ago.
By the way, you should wear a mouth guard.
Well, the very first year we went up there, actually, a bloke got his front teeth knocked out, and they had to stop the game to look for his teeth on the ground. Ever since then, I thought I'll wear a mouth guard. Anyway, Brennan's going, "You're up here wearing a bloody mouth guard. Like, how soft are you?" And I'm not the one who's sooking about a bit of contact. Anyway, to his credit, he did later that night at the pub come up and apologise and say,
That's good. So all the teams mingle.
Yeah,
it's
they
not
do.
Just you go, so you all get together.
Everyone gets together. Anyway, we were down in both games, but we're determined team, this Davis FC.
So you got up and won the flag.
We won the flag.
Well, congratulations. By the way, when you say that I've only won 2, at AFL level, but if you want to count, the under 17s, the under 19s, the under 12s, the under 14s, which is, by the way, the same level that is, then I'm a fair way in front of you.
The boys keep saying that, I know I brought it up last week, but there's an open invitation for you next year, and maybe if you come up and spend the weekend there, you might put a bit more value on the Byron Nines flag.
I'm not sure I
now,
should be doing that.
There's elements of the weekend that would definitely suit you. You get a $2,000 winner's check if you win it. And so we went and put it over the bar at
Of course you did.
the beach hotel. But the issue we had was, because we had so many games crammed in the Saturday, blokes hadn't really eaten. And I reckon it's the most militant security in all of Australia at the beach hotel. You even blink
Yeah.
too quickly,
Like, you're out.
you're out the door. So I didn't get kicked out, but we had an issue. The bloke who had his card over the bar for the money, he was the first bloke booted.
Oh, you don't. You keep his card there, surely.
Well, he was swaying, so that was his problem.
Yep.
There was another bloke who's an avid Truth Hurts listener. He's called the Shark. He was sitting there. He was awake.
Is that because he wouldn't shout if a shark bit him?
No. He was sitting there and he was awake, but his eyes were shut. He was.
Oh, you can't fall asleep. I've got mates that do that.
He was awake though, but
I've got a very good mate that likes to fall asleep. Actually, I've got a few mates that don't mind a nap when they have a couple.
So then we dropped another two blokes. We'll go to the next place, try and get in there. Two more blokes can't get in there. Then one bloke's on the dance floor. He's a bit too much energy on the dance floor. So, but we're 3 hours into the night.
You've lost half the team.
Lost half the team. So when you get into a session, it's interesting seeing how blokes go about the day, especially the Friday, which is a longer day when we didn't have the games. There's those blokes that will start on a mid-strength beer.
Well, we all get overexcitable. Yeah. That's what happens, and especially if you're in a group. The key to any group gathering like that, when you're all enjoying yourself, which you're allowed to do, then the key is knowing your strengths and knowing your weaknesses. It's not unlike being on the footy field. So when you're at the pub or the restaurant, you've got to know what suits you and what doesn't. And I say this to my mates that fall asleep. One's Brad. I won't say his last name. The other one's Sprigger, and I won't say his full name. But they are fall asleep type guys. So they've got to know what puts them to sleep. It's like me. I don't have dark spirits or anything like that. Beer and all of that's fine, but rosé on a hot day. Have a few rosés with the sun coming down.
Yeah.
And it just goes straight to the head.
Yeah.
And for me, that. So, and mixing drinks, some people can mix drinks. Obviously, don't mix them if you can't. So it's not a puzzle when you think about it. You just don't try to keep, and also don't try to keep up. Those days are gone.
Are they?
Yeah. You've got to grow up at some point.
Well, we say that to each other, and then here we are playing a few drinking games or paper, rock, scissors, or...
It's a bit like, some people might say, oh, come on, Duck, you haven't grown up. And they might be right. But it's the same as, where you've got 3/4 of a pot left, and you've got the Uber or your partner or, a cab, whatever it is, waiting for you. Now, back in the day, you're sitting there with your mates and they go, "Oh, you better finish that."
You can't waste it.
So you have to scull it before you run out to the Uber. And these days,
you're leaving beers on the table.
You just leave it. It's called growing up, and it's called maturity.
The great Wayne Carey, the king, is leaving beers on the table.
I've got to be honest. Not often that happens because I'm watching the Uber or I'm timing it.
You're a bit smarter than that.
And I'm also saying, if someone is picking me up, well, I'm prepared to ask them to wait for 5 minutes.
If you're having a big day, my day would not. So I don't drink beer because I'm a bit different. But I would have cider as what I describe as my session.
I don't mind an apple cider.
My session drink. So I would have that for most of the day, and then as the night starts, to take hold, I'd hook into the rum. That's where I can bring myself undone a little bit. Do you have a drink, a go-to drink for secondary drink, like a vodka soda or something?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably just vodkas. Yeah. But I'm a predominantly beer.
I marvel at the blokes who can drink beer all day.
Yeah. Well, it's
not you.
It's training. It's called training.
It's not you.
By the way, drink responsibly, you should say.
Speaking of flags, Duck, another bloke who's won a few premierships, Jack Riewoldt, wrote a column in the Herald Sun on the weekend, and I thought it would be something that might just get under your skin a little bit. So he was talking about when Richmond was trying to keep hold of Dusty, huge offer from North Melbourne, and that there was some talk at that stage that Dustin might leave. I personally don't think he was ever leaving Richmond. I think he used North.
I think so too.
But Jack said, I won't ever know if it made a difference. This is his intervention. But that was myself and teammate Sean Grigg who are desperate to make him, Dustin, see the value in him being a Richmond premiership player compared to, and take this with a grain of salt, it is not meant to be disrespectful, being a North Melbourne premiership player. So Jack's saying...
Oh, so being a premiership player for Richmond is better than, well, North or any other club for that matter.
That's what he's saying, yeah. It's a bit of a slap at North Melbourne.
It's a bit of a dick snap comment, to be honest. Like, you know, that's a premiership, whether you win it, you know, for the Simon Davis, whoever team, or whether you know, local footy, VFL footy or whatever, the feeling is exactly the same. So it doesn't matter where the AFL level or any level for that matter. None's more important than the other, let alone being a bigger club with a few more supporters. But that doesn't surprise me. That's Jack reverting back to the old Jack. I thought Jack had sort of, you know, grown a little bit more and matured a little bit more to make a, you know, comment like that, because that is disrespectful to one, the North Melbourne Footy Club and anyone that's happened to win a premiership. So Kevin Bartlett's premierships are worth more than Arnold Brightus or Wayne Schimmelbusch's. That's basically what he's saying.
So
as well,
reading that frustrates you. Reading something like
no, it's stupid. It doesn't water off a duck's back.
If you bump into Jack,
I'm sure Jack would have a laugh about it. But and like he said, take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you can't take it with a grain of salt because he actually said it.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's not going to, like, you're going to go and put him in a headlock.
No, but what and then to follow up, and let's put it into context, he said being a Richmond player, I guess the opportunities because of the size of the club might be more so.
Yep.
And there's probably some truth in that.
In terms of marketability.
Correct. Yeah. Well, when you've got, you know, the amount of support, they are a massive club. So in terms of that, so let's not blow it out of complete proportion, but it is a dick snap comment.
I thought you'd have something to say. It's a dangerous time of year for these retiring players because often they put their pen to paper and start writing away or fingers to the keyboard and start writing columns or books. And Trent Cotchin, Jack's teammate, a player that you really admire after his time as captain, has spoken about, there's different excerpts of his book that have come out. We spoke about one about when he realised Damien Hardwick was maybe on the way out. The latest to be released is what he said about Damien Hardwick's marriage breakdown and relationship with a club staff.
I probably shouldn't be talking about marriage breakdown. Relationship.
It is maybe dangerous territory, but I found it interesting because I would have thought that
so the relationship had waned, pardon the pun.
Yeah, so this is what Trent wrote. Did it, his breakdown, impact my relationship with Dimmer? I would say yes at that point, 100%. We had built this culture on a platform of family, connection and love, and Dimmer and Danielle's relationship had played a big part in all of this, so it was only natural to be worried about the fallout. I still love Dimmer and still respected him as a coach, but I'm not sure my relationship with him ever got back to the level it had been before. It felt like there was a barrier between us. So that's pretty strong. If
you're actually allowed in this life, believe it or not, you're actually allowed to fall out of love with someone and then fall in love with someone else. You're actually allowed to do that. That's what Dimmer obviously did. And if that upsets some people like Trent, well, you know, so be it. I like the fact that he's very forthcoming in what he's saying. Obviously, it's not a book I'll go out and read. I love Trent, but to be honest, I didn't think his book would be that interesting because he's not someone that you would think, but he has been very forthright and some of the things that you've said to me, it does sound like he's put it all on the line, which I like. So I might actually go out and get it. Why don't they ever bring up Dimmer's every time they talk about him, why don't they say that? Nor should they, because as I said, we're all grown-ups.
Yes,
you can fall out of love and in love with other people, and it's not a crime.
You feel like over time, I'm assuming they've probably reconnected anyway. Trent and Dimmer post him leaving Richmond. You feel like the bond between premiership coach and captain
always be the same. And what you've got to remember is Trent, when you're writing a book. And you're told to write, and he would be, and he is, and he speaks incredibly well. But he would be told to, put his balls on the line, so to speak, and actually be really truthful in how he felt. And I think by the sounds of it, that's exactly what he's done.
So the publishers, I mean, you've written a book as well. The publishers are looking for those type of lines, aren't they, that they can promote the book on?
100%. Well, look at the two that you've read to me on this. You
Yeah.
know, that's exactly what he wants, and that's well done.
Yep, very interesting. The Richmond situation, and yeah, I'm glad you fired back at Jack with tongue in cheek,
Not really, but talking about so you had winning premierships,
which I'll be feasting on. Friday.
And I like to give a little story about what I got up to, and people think, and I had a reasonable Friday night, because what did I have on? I had something on, had a lunch, and that sort of escalated. So it was a reasonable evening on Friday evening, but then the Saturday and Sunday family day, and yesterday I went to Luna Park for Halloween. So Luna Park, the kids come along all dressed up in all their Halloween.
When is Halloween?
Gear. Tomorrow, I think.
So Tuesday.
Yeah.
Tuesday. Okay.
So, the kids, Carter put on his little skeleton outfit.
Yeah.
Little skeleton outfit. Charlotte didn't choose to get dressed up to go to, but they will tomorrow afternoon. So they'll put their.
So
little
they love getting in, because it's been this conversation, hasn't it? Are we getting too?
They both decided they want to be vampires this year.
Yep.
No, so I think last year Charlotte was a witch.
Yep.
Carter's been a skeleton. He's been a vampire.
What about you? Do you?
I got asked that question this morning. That are you going to dress up this year? And I'm not sure it's in the Halloween, but I might just go as an angel.
That's ridiculous.
Or the devil.
Yeah, I think that might be
some devil horns.
I think that.
No, I've never gone trick or treating before, and they've said, "Can you come this year?" So I'm thinking I might just put a mask on, and head around the streets.
From what you understand,
try and get some candy.
How are they received when they're knocking on doors? Is it generally is it becoming bigger? Do you think? I think
this year seems to not be as big, but it is getting bigger in Australia. I think what you do if you're a little kid, it just as a little tip. You don't go to a house with no decoration on it whatsoever, because that basically means that house doesn't give a shit about Halloween.
Yeah.
But if you see a house with spider webs and skulls and all of that, then you walk up to the front door and ring the bell or whatever it is.
I wonder if someone knocked on your door, what little treats would be tucked away.
Well, that's what you do. You've got to go and purchase, candy.
Have you got anything in your
things.
backyard? Any pumpkins or anything like that? Or
no, I've decorated the front of the house.
oh, you probably have done it.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. So so that gives them permission to come up and ring the bell.
Well, I don't
give them some candy, and it depends on how much effort the kid goes to.
Yep.
If you ask for a trick, which you probably trick or treat. But no, so I'm looking forward to tomorrow night. But it is a weird sort of time. And Luna Park,
not for you.
not sure it's.
Would have been busy on a Sunday.
It was chockers yesterday.
Yeah.
Absolute.
So do you go on any
chockers.
rides? You go on the roller coaster or?
No, I went on the big ship, the rocking ship.
I don't like that.
No,
one.
I don't like any of them.
No, I get motion sickness on that down there.
Yeah, I went on that with Charlotte, but I don't go on a lot of them. Went on the ghost train.
Yes.
Very courageous of me.
Yeah, no.
And then the carousel.
Just before we leave the topic of Halloween, how then do you decide when that chocolate or whatever they receive is available to them? Do you tuck it away, or are you saying no, it's yours and you can have it when you want, or are you saying no, you can have you have a chocolate bar today, or
It's a
with
good
lunchtime?
It's very good. Carter's just relentless on it, and if
he knows it's there,
he just pops out, and knows how much he's had, how much is left, where it's put.
So you've got limited control over this.
No, you do. You take it away from him, but he knows where it is, how many he's got left, and he.
If you left him to his own devices, would he just?
He'd clean 3/4 of it up until he was actually sick.
So I remember back in the day, when you like getting a show bag, when you used to get it, you just wanted more.
Yeah, and he actually can just sit there and just go for it, and you've got to pull him up.
Yeah.
And when you know he's had enough, when he actually just stops at that point, says, "Okay, you can put it away."
Well, that's my issue. When
Yeah.
when you become an adult, you haven't got anyone to tell you to stop. So maybe I'll come knocking on your door for a couple of little chocolate bars or something.
Now, the other big thing that's going on, and we've got Derby Day coming up on
Yep.
Saturday. So
Yep.
the Spring Racing Carnival, Cox Plate, what a awesome day. We've already had a really good lead up to it, but I've always believed Derby Day's the best day of the Spring Carnival. Now, a lot of people love the Melbourne Cup. Stakes Day's Family Day, and Oaks Day's meant to be Women's Day, which ends up being Men's Day.
Blokes Day, yep.
So it's always that argument which day is the best
So
day.
you would have been to most of them by now.
over
time,
I don't,
yeah.
over a long time. I've been to all of them. Yeah.
It's funny because if you like the racing purists will say, well, the best race of the spring is probably the Cox Plate, weight for age, best horses, great battle, as we saw on the weekend with Romantic Warrior from Hong Kong. Derby Day, you've got multiple Group 1 races. So as a day, you maybe the best race. Melbourne Cup is the biggest hyped overall, but then you've got, Oaks Day might be a bit more casual or something like that. So Derby Day's your day.
Derby Day's my day, and I think it's because of that. I think it's the first Saturday, and I think I've had the most luck on Derby Day. So I've backed the most winners.
Winners. Okay, sorry.
Over a period of time on that day. And some really, really good memories of good wins with some mates and that sort of. So that sits out more. Cup Day to me has been hit and miss.
Yep.
So I had a lot of stakes days. You've had enough by stakes day a lot of the time.
If
But
you go on a stakes day as like the third day or something like that.
then you're just about cooked.
It's a big day financially now. You have to commit a lot of like the drinks and the betting and everything that goes on.
Everything. It just depends where you are. If you're in a marquee where all that's taken care of, you just and that's why if you do pay a bit for your ticket, make sure you get your money's worth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get there early and leave late.
I'm just going to throw another one into the mix. Another Cup Day, Devonport Cup Day. Sorry, Devonport. Unfortunately, this has changed recently. Responsible service of alcohol, but back in the day, I remember 18 to early 20s when you could wheel your own esky into the day.
Oh, you did. You could do that in Melbourne at Flemington as well. But
Yeah,
I think can you still do that
Oh,
down on the lawn?
Maybe if you buy a car park or something like that, you can.
Oh,
do,
right.
You can't
But
on
not
the lawn.
into the court. Yeah.
No, I just you're buying a slab of Bundy cans and wheeling that into the Devon and thinking this was Christmas time. Like, how good's this?
Yeah. Nice day. Get a little blankie.
Yeah, yeah.
Buy
No,
a bee.
they're good days. They're
Actually, that's the other thing that happened on the weekend. Carter picked up this dead bee, right, and then thought, "Oh well, I can just go and grab a live bee."
no.
So he's grabbed a live bee at his grandma's birthday, right, and it's bitten him on the thumb. You would have sworn that someone had chopped his hand off,
Yeah.
and wouldn't let anyone like touch it, and so the whole bowls club down at Torquay, they could just hear this kid screaming, thought that, something terrible was happening. And he's running it around, and then we find out that the bee and the pulp and the sting is still in the thumb.
Oh, yeah.
And he wouldn't let anyone touch it to get it out. So I've just sort of grabbed it and gone like that. Anyway, it didn't come out, but then it came out. But the screaming to get that out but lesson learnt.
Well,
He'll never go and grab a bee again.
it is a life lesson, isn't it? I wondered this with, I said this to my partner the other day when we've got a cat at home, and Ayla, who's 10 months old now, she's crawling, charging around the house and getting close to walking, but she just chases Billy, our cat, around all day. But he just sort of sits there, he doesn't move, and then as she gets closer, he just goes whack, bang, straight in the face. And my partner, Katie, says, well, I can't let that happening, like you might scratch her or something. I say, well, if you whacks her in the head, and he has, she cries, and it's a lesson learned, isn't it?
She'll learn, yeah.
But she's saying, well, she's only 10 months old, she won't learn yet. And I'm like, maybe not. But so you'd
you've got to be careful with that, with animals.
Yeah, okay.
But a bee. But now, and the other thing you learn, he's not allergic to bees. Because a lot of people have allergies to bees, and you've got to be very careful.
You do,
very serious. So learnt that as well, which is good.
We're getting ever closer to the draft. We've got rid of the trade period, so the draft's in a few weeks' time. It's been a strong focus on one guy, hasn't there, for a lead up to a draft?
Look, I know it probably is every year, but it just seems like draft day. So, you know, we copy everything America, you know, does, and we know that draft day. Have you seen the movie Draft Day with Kevin Costner?
No, I haven't seen it.
Haven't you seen it?
No.
Oh, one of the great movies.
Okay.
But the way that their draft day is built up, we're nowhere near that, but, you know, we do our best. But I think the build up about Harley Reid has been enormous. And I think it's because North Melbourne and Hawthorn obviously had that, you know, North Melbourne and West Coast was sort of vying for that number one pick. And then North winning that last game, they don't get it. And now there's talk about giving away the farm to get, I don't think that the number one pick and so much pressure on this young kid, I think it's enormous. Like, I don't think we've
So Harley Reid
spoken about anyone as much, but maybe we have. And there's been some really, really good number one picks, and there's been some guys that have, you know, okay, maybe top 10, but it just goes to show you that, you know, there's no certainty just because you go number one. I mean, you can break down in your first year.
So you got a few of the recent ones there.
McCartan's a great example.
So 2014, Paddy McCartan.
Yeah, great example. Tom Boyd, who, by the way, you know, wasn't the player that GWS wanted him to be, but then invariably got the premiership for the Bulldogs. So for me, he was worth everything the Bulldogs played, but as a number one pick, I don't think probably reached, you know. And then you've got guys like, Big Johnny Patton, who, you know, didn't reach number one status. You've got Swallow, Jack Watts, Scully. I mean, the list goes on and on. Now, don't get me wrong, all of those players, in particular Swallow was a fantastic player for the Suns, but there's a lot of those players that have been really good players but not reached number one status. And then there's guys like Walsh. Rayner, I think, is improving. Rowe's first 5 games, we thought absolutely number one. Now you're probably thinking, you know, should have gone at maybe a little bit lower. So, I mean, the argument will go on forever, but it's a classic example why you do not give away a couple of low picks just for pick one. So because there are no guarantees.
If you're listening to the draft gurus like Cal Toomey from AFL.com, who I really respect his opinion, he has ranked Harley up there with the best players to be drafted in recent years. So there's big raps on Jason Horne-Francis and Nick Dacos above maybe a whole lot of others, and Will Ashcroft. And he was saying that Harley Reid
he ranks alongside those guys.
He thinks he can be every bit as good and impactful straight away. And I guess the other thing with Harley is maybe he's that type of player, the Dustin Martin type mid-forward player that people are getting excited about. But it is a lot of pressure, isn't it? He seems to be taking it in his stride. But it'll be interesting come round one next year, wherever he is, if it's West Coast or North Melbourne or wherever, how he handles that. Because for an 18-year-old kid,
if he's as good as those guys, then clearly he comes in and has an impact. And the one thing that we know, and just to those guys that I mentioned before, with all due respect, they played in a different time. I mean, Jack Watts got attacked by Collingwood players the first game he played and got physically intimidated. So different times, different rules. I think the young kids that come in today are better prepared for AFL footy, and also they're coming in playing on other kids. They're not coming in playing on men like once upon a time some of these players were.
It's amazing the difference in scrutiny from a number one to a number two pick, isn't it? Because the number twos are like...
Some of those have been superstars.
But some have also been
flops.
But you don't have the same scrutiny. But you look at someone like, use Aaron Cadman from last year, who was the number one pick at GWS.
Well, he hasn't done a Nick Dacos or anything like that, has he?
He's a key position player who will take longer. But you know, as a number one pick, there's this focus, and maybe he's 1 year in. Even Jamara was,
Jamara's taken a few years, and now just starting to. So we might, if you were to look at Jamara after his first few years, you're saying there's no way he's number one.
Yeah, but
he might end up being the right decision might be, we'll find out in 2 or 3 years. So there are those that come in and have an impact straight away, and those that don't. By the sounds of it, they think Harley Reid's going to do that.
Now, before we move on to our listener comments, there has been a few other little things floating around in the sporting world on the weekend. I'll save a bit of the Melbourne chat for when we get into our comments. We've got some specific questions on the Melbourne Football Club. Just on the Eddie Jones situation. Again, I'm not a huge rugby man, but I've just found this fascinating how this has unfolded. So he's come back as Wallabies coach after being in England. There's been this huge song and dance about him. He's told reporters to give themselves an uppercut for being too negative about Australian rugby on the way to the World Cup. He's gone and won 2 games against nobodies. He's lied through his teeth about interest from Japan. He said, I'm committed to the Wallabies. Now he's resigned. And on the way out, his quote was, I gave it a run. Hopefully it'll be the catalyst for change. Sometimes you have to eat shit for others to eat caviar further down the track. Now, come on.
I like the saying.
It's a great quote, but come on, Eddie. He's saying he's laid the foundations for the future.
Yeah. I wouldn't have thought so.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I understand it's hard for him in
the thing about, there was this debate on the weekend as well, all over the last week or so, when you've got rugby league,
yes.
Going to America.
Yes.
And them talking about rugby league being the biggest sport in Australia.
Yes.
Absolute laughable.
Yes.
Now, I grew up with rugby league and love rugby league, but it is nowhere near as big as AFL. It is a huge game. It is a game that I absolutely love, but it's not even in the same hemisphere. They don't get anywhere near the same people to games. Their membership's not even remotely close. I mean, there's just so many factors that point to that it's not as anywhere near as popular. It is a great sport. It's a sport I love. It is a world sport, not a worldwide sport, but a world sport, which does make it different to AFL. So I'll give it that tick. So you can go and represent your country against other countries in the actual sport you play, which as an AFL player, you don't get to do that. So that's where rugby league and rugby union have the advantage. So getting back to now, so those comments about it being the biggest sport in Australia is just, like I said, ridiculous.
Peter V'landys loves a bit of...
Getting back to union,
Yep.
Union once upon a time, I think, had taken over league at one point. And I'm talking about John Eel's time and Cam Peasy and these guys when they were winning World Cups. I think 99, and I think I went to the one in 2003 where
Australia,
England beat Australia.
Johnny Wilkinson
on his left foot, or right foot it might have been, because he was a left footer, I think.
One of his feet,
Yep. No, but he's the opposite side. And I was at that game, and I actually backed England, but I backed them before the start of the tournament. I didn't think that Australia would get to the final, and Australia did. So then I was sort of going, well, if Australia win, it's great, but sort of want England to win for the hip pocket. So there was...
Well, that's
anyway,
a win-win.
But
that's a win-win.
So that's when rugby union, I think, was every bit as big as or bigger than league. And I remember I was in Adelaide at the time, and Marcus, we all flew. We flew to Sydney for those games. It was unbelievable to be there during that time. It's dropped off a stack since then.
Absolutely.
But, Eddie, well, I don't think Eddie's. It's a win-win.
Well, Eddie needs to give himself an uppercut now.
Yeah, it's a win-win. I like the saying, though.
Give yourself an uppercut.
No, everyone likes to think that, when they leave somewhere, they've left it in a better place. I'm not sure that we're thinking about that.
No, that's why but it's just the way he is looked down his nose at all of these questions, which have now proved correct about the state of rugby in Australia, and certain things about him, and he's dismissed them as being, and now he's proven to be. Anyway, he's gone down in my estimations, but he's probably not listening to the truth.
Well, what about the girls? Sam Kerr and the girls, another good win?
Yeah. So over in Perth, I saw they had a big crowd over there. It was a bit late for me on the Saturday night. No, I was still up, but I was out on the town, so I missed it, but saw she scored a hat-trick on the weekend.
But once again, because of the World Cup, that's just that sport is just going to grow and grow and grow. So they've just got to continue to grow it, keep it on the front of people's minds and not let it slip away, because that's often what can happen.
Absolutely. Now we've got a stack of listener questions because it was a big show last week. You really you really came off the long run last week. So I'll get to those in a moment. A bit of a response. First question is a bit of a curly one. It's from Matt. Duck, did you see your old mate Ricky Nixon's apparently got into a blue with Sam Newman over an appearance fee at a cricket club?
Are you serious?
Yeah. So have you seen?
Well, Sam Newman's just had a shoulder replacement.
Has he? Okay.
He had it about a month after I did. So if Chicken's doing that with a man, or if this is true, then Chicken's certainly
Chicken's
picked
on
his
the
mark.
He's on the record. So Chicken's, there's quotes from him in the Herald Sun. It was supposedly the dispute was over an appearance fee. Chicken's told Sam Newman that it was worth $3,000, and he says he made a mistake telling Sam that they were actually going to split the $3,000. So Sam's got there, and Nick Chicken's only given him $1,500, and he's going, "What's this?" And he's invited him outside to go on with it.
The Chook has.
No, Sam's invited the Chook outside and said,
But Sam has had a shoulder replacement just recently.
"Yeah, well, so he must
He must have still been confident at getting over the Chook." By the way, don't fight. You should talk through those things. But I don't believe what's in the Herald Sun.
No, but Ricky has said that the confrontation did happen. And
well, there might be a bit of embellishment there too.
If you got to an event and the Chook said, "Duck, I'm only giving you $1,500 instead of $3,000," do you reckon you'd say?
Well, the Chook might have picked his mark. Not sure.
Yeah,
I'll give the Chook and Sam a ring after this, and I'll find out. I'll give you a proper.
Sam's quote was to the Herald Sun, "Stop wasting my time with this."
I'll find out.
Yeah, they'd be interested to know the real story.
Yes, and that's what we want on the Truth Hurts.
I just thought you'd find that. I thought you'd find that.
That is funny.
A few comments in regards to Melbourne. This is from Kev's Magpies. Great podcast, guys. I do think Melbourne has a bad culture, and the way they let the Oliver situation get out of hand is poor, and the leadership is poor and pathetic. So really strong from Kev's Magpies. This is from G Funk Era. The media is sick of the arrogance from Melbourne, and particularly that of Simon Goodwin. When a story that can potentially bring them down a peg comes to light, they're going to fan the flames. Now, I've noticed that Goody and Gary Pert are going on SEN tomorrow with Gary Lyon. So that's intriguing, isn't it, that they would do that? So they're going on for 45 minutes or an hour, a proper sit-down chat. So that to do that, they must think that they've got to clear the air.
They must think they've got a lot of listeners too.
Yeah. Well, absolutely.
That surprises me, to be honest. Why you would go on, especially that. Why? How's that? Oh, because of Gary Lyon and the Melbourne connection.
I assume maybe they think that Gary Lyon will be fair with them. I mean, Gary's been critical of Melbourne at different times, but he will defend Melbourne when required.
Yeah. I'm not sure. Well, I don't think you don't. An interesting choice, being Gary to do it. I guess the only reason why that would be is because he's an ex-Melbourne captain.
So there's been a lot of rumour and innuendo, which we've addressed as, some things can be embellished, some things may have an element of truth. Do you think it's right then that these questions get put to Simon Goodwin and Gary Pert and they can clear the air? Because the club would be endorsing this. Maybe they're thinking.
I think they'll be damned if they do and they'll be damned if they don't. And I don't think it's the right forum to do it.
Yep.
Because I can see the interview right now. You can almost picture what it's going to be, and it'll be and nothing against Gary, but he'll be trying to be hard and give out all of these the tough questions and is there a problem with this and is there Ray Martin style and Oprah Winfrey crossed with Ray and Oprah and at the end of the day it'll be they didn't answer that properly or they didn't give enough or he wasn't hard enough or he was or he's too hard or so you're pushing uphill.
Yep. It is interesting so clubs have what they call, crisis communications. When something happens, they try to manage the message.
Watch how this is picked apart.
It absolutely will
be. It will be picked apart.
The club obviously thinks there's enough to gain because maybe they're thinking there's been an element of brand damage over the past month with whether they're true or not, the story's getting a little out of control in regards to different people and Joel Smith, Clayton Oliver, Simon Goodwin and so on. So they must think that they need to do this.
Yeah, well,
So that'll be interesting and one that we can dissect.
Well, we can tune in. When's that on?
Tomorrow morning on SEN, Tuesday morning.
We'll just tape it for me.
I'll
I won't tune in live.
I'll tape it for you. Speaking of media, last week you had a bit of a crack. You weren't. Why'd you roll your eyes at?
No,
Well, you did. Yeah, yep. You weren't happy with the fact that you felt the media could report certain things about you, and you were getting in trouble for firing back. Well, there's been a huge response. Huge. I've just picked out a few comments. This is from Asip Demiri. The only thing that Wayne Carey needs to know is the real North Melbourne people will be forever grateful for what you've done for our club. We care for you, Wayne, and always will. We couldn't give a stuff about what the media says. That's nice. Have a sip. Chris, I was never a Carey fan in his playing days, though I never doubted his greatness. I suppose I was tainted by the negative media stories. This podcast, however, has altered my opinion. I enjoy it. I don't agree with all that he says, but it'd be a pretty boring place if we agreed on everything. That's about right, because we don't agree on everything.
Fair to say you're different. I mean, look what you're wearing today, and look what you're proud of. Like, who the hell wears a goat hat and wears his under 10 premiership medal?
Well, I do hope. I do hope.
Other than Diesel Williams, of course, the character.
I do hope that the listeners take it with a grain of salt. That I'm not that big head.
No.
I've
just been walking around the street with that on.
I was pretty good up there, though. I was pretty for a bloke who has no athletic ability, can't run, can't jump, but just smart, really smart footballer. Anyway, moving on. Well said, Duck. Get over it. We've all said something. We've all done something we're not proud of. The difference is you're in the public eye. So many hypocrites out there. God bless you, brother. From Meow Kabar. So that was part of what you were saying, that you felt that there is, an element in the media who will report something and then
they report on things all the time, and then you say something and it's like you're highlighting it. That was my point.
Yep.
Surely I'm allowed to speak about something that I was involved in that they speak about often.
So there's a couple. Because we don't just read out the positive ones. There's a couple that have just got some questions for you.
Sure.
This is from Riley Riz. I feel like the Duck misses the point with a lot of the controversial things that happen. This is from Riley. The reason people were upset was because writing 3 times is rubbing the other people's faces in it. Clearly, the only reason he thought it was pretty funny was because he was half pissed.
I wasn't half. I was quarter. Oh, well, I'd get in trouble for that. Quarter? No, I had a couple of cocktails. By the way, that got reported.
You had a couple of cocktails. Yeah, I saw that.
I had a couple of cocktails.
You are definitely one of the clickbait kings for the Herald Sun.
I'd had a couple of, and the phone, the breathalyzer got a mention.
Yes, I saw that. So this is from Rob. Final one on this, and it's a hard hitting question from Rob. So I know, see, you got a bit of trepidation. Love the king, but he missed the mark on his reaction to his tweet. The media angle is a red herring. How does he feel his former teammates might feel about that tweet? Maybe a little too cavalier.
Couldn't give a crap.
Okay.
They couldn't care.
They couldn't care.
No.
Okay.
No.
So they don't.
None have mentioned it to me.
All right. No, fair enough.
Because they wouldn't follow. One, they wouldn't be worried about Twitter and saying, just like I said, I did get a little bit of feedback by a few people in the street, and they said your problem was you saying the word facetious. There's a lot of people out there that don't know what facetious means.
When you use that word, I look up in a dictionary
and can spell it.
Is that because I use that word? You've stolen it
It's
from.
been one of my favourite words forever.
And you spelled it properly too.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, well done on that. This is from Doug. Wayne, it's awesome to hear from you, but just let old mate finish his sentences, please. You must have been talking over me last week.
I like the fact that he says old mate.
Yeah, he didn't even say my name. That's how memorable I am. I had one more on the media. Sorry, I just missed from Mick, which was a good question. The question for me is, if the media can build players up, often overhype them, which absolutely helps them financially, then maybe players just have to wear it. Like it or not, without the media hype, you don't have all the money in the game. Also, playing the Twitter game is fraught with danger, especially after a few drinks. Well, that is definitely good advice, Mick. Do you think players, because of the money they earn, which comes as part of the media building up the game.
I've always said that if what is said is truthful by the media, then you cop it on the chin. It's when it's hypocritical or the truth is embellished to an extreme that is not reality.
Yep.
Which happens. It happens every day. Pick up the paper today and read most of what's in the paper, and there's so much that you wouldn't take with a grain of salt.
This is from Dazza. Just finished watching Beckham, and when he was bought by Real Madrid, Figo played on the left instead of the right and absolutely dominated. So the right is where Beckham played. What better motivation to work harder and be greater? Great point, Duck. So you're talking about Jack Ginnivan on that. I actually got up to that episode last night on Beckham.
I've got to watch it again because there's also a documentary on Figo as well. Did you know?
Is there?
Yeah.
He was Portuguese great. So it is amazing when you look back at that Real Madrid vision. They were just a team of stars. But even
team of stars that then invariably became a great team.
Yeah. It's easy to forget how big David Beckham was because this was a team of stars, but he was just astronomical. But interesting, in that situation, another two players in the one position as Jack Ginnivan found himself in, but he's gone for the security, which you can understand. This is from Celia. There's a bit of a message here about us approaching. You're pushing for 50 episodes. Congratulations. Duck, do you have a Melbourne Cup tip? And I think Celia might be giving themselves a pat on the back here, having picked Saintly and the Quinella Delta Blues and Pop Rock. I think they might have picked them themselves. So Melbourne Cup will be next week.
No,
maybe
we'll give it next
Monday
week.
Next week. So it's something to think about for you. Next week we'll get you your Melbourne Cup tip. This is from Corn Holio, Air Tasker fellas. So this came after our handyman discussion. You said hire a hubby.
Yes, yep.
Air Tasker fellas, put the job up you want. With how much you want to pay. We'll get heaps of quotes within minutes. So I think I might.
That could be fraught with danger. You don't know who's going to pick that job up.
Well, you keep telling me about.
But just some dingbat says he can put a nail in, and you don't know who he is. Whereas at least a company where hire a
But I think you can see their qualifications on there.
Oh, can you? Okay, well, explain that.
I
just don't want to be inviting around Jack the Ripper. To put a photo up.
Well, make sure you're home. Well, you've just been telling me about how soft I am. You're worried about a bloke coming around with a drill.
No, you know what I mean.
And a screwdriver.
Unless there's qualifications. Whereas if it's an actual company, then it's.
Now, someone I wouldn't say they weren't happy, but they've just questioned your Mick Martin bench press story. This is from Frankie Duck. I thought Fraser Gehrig might have given Mick a nudge in terms of bench press.
I did hear Fraser was pretty strong, but Mick not as strong as Mick.
Was he playing back when you were finishing your career, Fraser, or was he?
No, he became a forward.
Yeah, I know.
He did a bit of both.
Yeah,
he was forward, back.
He kicked a lot of goals and became a cold here, but he played back very well for a period of time.
A little bit.
Not,
I'm not sure we crossed over, or we may have right at the end. He might have, maybe when I went to the Crows.
Yeah.
Might have been a game.
He's great to watch.
He became a cult hero. He was a very good player.
Yeah. And he was strong.
And he was, unbelievably strong, but no one's been stronger than me.
And this is a question from Rob, very different to a whole lot of other questions. And I actually raised this with a few mates in the weekend, and everyone gave different answers. Question, who would Duck pick first on his team out of Hurdy, Bucks and Vossi? We've been talking about Bucks and his standing recently, so I think it's come on the back of that. Who would you pick first out of Hurdy, Bucks and Vossi? Because they are often grouped together.
In this order, it's Voss, Hurd, Buckley.
And so why?
And the reason why I know the answer straight to that question straight away, because I've been asked that question a lot.
Yeah.
Voss, hardness, leadership, premierships, and Hurd multiple positions. So played down back, played on Gary Ablett Senior, he's played on myself. He could play forward, and then obviously went in. But when I look at them, I don't look at them I would compare them as midfielders.
Yep.
And I'm saying that I can remember Voss grabbing games and doing things and by the scruff of the neck, and Hurd was a match winner. I think Bucks was he's a champion of our game, but he would beat you over time. He couldn't grab a game like the other
So
two.
it wasn't moments, you're saying? It
Not
wasn't
as big a moments, correct, as the other two. And they could take a game away from you, whereas, Bucks kill you by 1,000 cuts.
And finally, just really off Broadway, this is from Christian. Duck, have you been taking any notice of the Cricket World Cup? What do you think of the format? And if you haven't been taking any notice of the format, every team plays every team. There's 9 matches before you even get to the final stage. Have you watched any of the Cricket World Cup?
Not a lot. Isn't it funny how that's another one of our sports, and clearly cricket's our biggest summer sport, but 50-50 cricket, it's just there's just been no fanfare around it whatsoever, has there?
I would watch religiously in the past.
Yeah, so would I.
The World Cup, but
So would I.
for me, in answer to your question, Christian, for me, too many matches that don't mean anything at the moment. If you're playing 9 games before you're getting, we lost our first 2 games and we're still going to cruise through the next round.
Yeah.
There's got to be a bit more pressure on you.
Yeah.
Now, Duck, I've got to leave you. I've got to get to. No, I don't have a Mad Monday. What I will say is the things I do for you. So yesterday, I'm sitting at just picture this. I'm sitting at the Rainbow Bay Surf Life Saving Club. It's a beautiful 25, 26 degrees. Sun's out. It looks over the beach. Plenty going on, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
I got a pint of cider bought for me about 11 o'clock. My flight was at 1 o'clock. Originally, I was due to come back today. I thought, no, I've got the podcast, and I've got to. I changed my flight. And the boys were going, no, change it back.
I reckon you got an ultimatum to get back because you've been sort of taking a few liberties lately and getting out a little bit too much on a Sunday.
That may have been a factor.
Yeah.
It may have been a factor in my decision making. When you have a whole lot of social events in a row, you sometimes need to read the play a little bit.
You should have gone easier a couple of weeks ago, and you would be still on the Gold Coast right now.
Yes, yeah. It's funny because I got home and I said to the missus that the boys were trying to get me to stay another day and change my flight. And actually, one of the blokes did change his flight. He pretended he missed it supposedly.
Yeah, very easily done.
She said, "Oh, I would have been totally fine with you doing it," but that's what they say.
They always say that when you're already home.
Yes. But if I'd stayed up there,
Yeah, you're in a lot of trouble.
well, you can make your own
Are you
decisions.
serious?
Yeah. You get back and they say there's nothing wrong, but then you get the cold shoulder for a few days.
So true. So true. Thank you.
Been
worth it.
Yep, great show again on the Truth Earths, and we will be back next week. Great to talk to you again. Some varied topics, and I'll be interested to see if Jack hears what you've had to say, particularly today.
A lot of Spring Carnival to talk about next Monday.
Yeah, so after I'll get a Derby Day report for you and a Melbourne Cup tip, which I know you will dive deep into the form. That's another episode though of the Truth Earth. See you, Duck.
You can either take the red pill, you'll wake up, everything was a dream, or you can take the black pill, you can get torched.
Well, I suppose getting torched won't hurt that much. I don't feel anything.
Wait for it.
Oh, wait. I just got a new client.
Get torched! Get torched! Get torched!